I think it's pretty safe to say that Black Ops 7 this year is going to be a complete and utter joke of a game this year. Absolutely nobody can take these guys seriously. Activision and Treyarch just can't seem to get anything together here. They are delaying all their information. They're trying to push everything back to COD Next, and they just seem like they can't really figure out what they want to do with the game because there's no interest and nobody is really excited for their game. And I believe all the backlash that they've been getting for all of their announcements and all their changes that they've been needing to do because Battlefield is completely running the brakes off of your game. They're now realizing that they've been treating the COD community like shit for too long, and people are fed up with it. We don't want goofy skins in your game, which are going to inevitably come into your game 1 month after its launch. And it's mostly down to the fact that you focused your games for years into the Warzone aspect of it. Every single mode since Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 has been more of a focus on your Warzone and Battle Royale than anything else. Every aspect of your game has been built from the ground up for Warzone, and you can feel the difference between them because once the first season comes out for any of these Call of Duties, the entire multiplayer support, the entire zombie support starts to suffer. They may launch with a really strong map this year, a giant transit, Warzone style map. I would say it's a Warzone style map, but it's going to be open world, and you need a wonder vehicle to get around. And then of course you have the campaign, which is going to have an end game. I've talked about that in multiple of my videos recently. So if you're into that kind of content, make sure you leave a like and go ahead and subscribe if you're new. I want to start today's video by going over the Steam charts, just kind of the top sellers. You can go ahead and see an entire list of the global top sellers for, just within recent time. I think it takes within the last week or 30 days or however they work with it, but it's whatever's the most trending. It's a good way to see trending data and just kind of how things are forming up and what people are interested in at the time. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. So this is the top list of all the games that people are currently enjoying, at least on the PC side of things. This is the main page for Steam. And of course, right at the top, you have games like Dota 2 and Counter-Strike 2, which people have been enjoying. Borderlands 4 right there at the top, even at a mixed review, is right there at number 3. And all we have to do is scroll down just a little bit and see just within the top 15 is sitting right there nice and pretty. Battlefield 6 sitting still up there, right there along with everything else near the top, and that's after the beta has been gone for about a month now, if you can believe it. And now we're slowly waiting just a little bit under a month for the full release of Battlefield 6. And then of course, if you go ahead and search up where Black Ops 7 is sitting, you have to scroll past hundreds of other games and see that it's, sitting nice and pretty right in between a couple of simulator games, which is kind of fitting for the Call of Duty series because at this point, they're just simulating a lot of the older stuff from their games. They're trying to simulate as much old stuff as possible to get in all the older fans. They're trying to bring in anything from Black Ops 1, from Black Ops 2, and there's just throwing everything at the canvas in order to get anything possibly going for hype-wise for this game, because at this point, it's going to look a little bad for you this year, Call of Duty.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to feel bad for that dog shit game. It's just been extremely funny to see anyone online that's actually somewhat interested in Black Ops 7, because you see all these posts where people go ahead and they're like, hey, I bought the Vault edition of the game, and they're wondering about some, random question about their transaction, and the entire comment section for each of those posts is pretty much just like, why would you do that? And most of the people are just questioning why you would want to give Activision or Treyarch any more money at this point, because it doesn't really even seem like it's going into the game. In fact, it might all be going into this game, and I'm going to explain that here in just a second. But if you don't think that Black Ops 7 is probably going to have one of the highest budgets out of all the games, it was confirmed back then that Call of Duty Cold War cost $700 million to develop properly, and yet that game still came out, and a lot of people were not really happy with it, and it kind of fell off, and it wasn't exactly a flop because, they had millions of people buy the game at $60 a piece, and then of course you had all the microtransactions, so, the game probably made well over $1 billion, but I don't think that's going to happen this year for Black Ops 7, honestly. I think a lot of people are going to be buying the game through Game Pass, which is only about $30. And then you have people going through, you know, every other means of getting the game in a cheaper way. I mean, a lot of people don't want to pay the $80 price tag or the $70 price tag, and they'll go over to G2A or some other kind of key site to get the game at a cheaper price. And the only reason why I'm thinking that Black Ops 7 is going to have a crazier budget than Black Ops Cold War, I'm going to predict that now. I think the budget for Black Ops 7 is probably going to be the most expensive Call of Duty that we've seen so far. I think they put as much as possible into Black Ops 7 because you have a campaign that also has 4 mastery camos, an entire end game mode to where they're going to really try to get you to continue to play the game in kind of a, you know, DMZ style extraction shooter from what I've seen. And then of course they're going to have the zombies. There's going to be 4 mastery camos for that game mode as well. And then you're going to have a giant transit map that you're going to have to run around in. That's just going to take up as much time as possible. And then of course you're going to have the potential of the multiplayer also having 4 mastery camos. It just continues on and on. They go, oh, you know, we see everyone leaving our game after getting, you know, dark matter. We're just going to add more camos on top of it. So it just gives you more to do. And I'm not saying having more to do is bad, but the problem is that they didn't need that in the past to make the game fun. You didn't need to have 4 mastery camos and 18 different crappy looking maps, 4 of them being face-off maps and the other 4 being remakes, 2 of them being part of your 20v20 big team battle mode. And the only reason why I say that the game's going to be more expensive than usual is because you're pulling in pretty much all of your, you know, development studios for this. You're pulling in Sledgehammer for the multiplayer, Treyarch is probably still working on the zombies, and then you probably still have Raven working on Warzone, and all the other studios are more than likely running their weight and trying to make sure that they are contributing to this game to make sure it's as good as possible, which unfortunately doesn't seem to be the case because nobody's excited for the game. Ever since the launch of the world reveal for the game, nobody's been excited for the game. Everything you see online has just been complete negative discourse. And I think that's another reason why Battlefield 6 is doing pretty well, because I think there's just a lot of positivity and people are actually excited for the game. And unlike Battlefield, Call of Duty can't seem to get anything right, and everything they announce just gets completely destroyed online. So if they go ahead and try to put in as much budget as possible into this game, and then they lose the sales, I already know that they're probably going to lose a lot of their market on PC. A lot of people aren't excited for the game on PC, especially from what I showed on Steam. The game is completely all the way down at the dumps. In fact, it was actually really close. I didn't show that in that little picture that I took, but Warzone is actually just a few games underneath Black Ops 7. And I think that's really funny because the free version of your game is pretty much right at the same spot as the paid version of it. So if that tells you that nobody's really excited for Black Ops 7, I don't know what else does. It's pretty obvious that with all these changes that they're trying to make to the skins and trying to, you know, calm down the community from all the outrage that was just been surrounding the game since its reveal, I just don't think that there's going to be a good chance that the game sells as well as Battlefield 6. And I don't say that in a way to where I think that, you know, Battlefield 6 is going to outsell Call of Duty 2-1. And I don't think Black Ops is going to outsell Battlefield this year. I think they might be toe-to-toe, possibly. I think there's going to be a good chance that they both sell just about the same, but it makes you wonder that are people really going to keep their retention on Call of Duty as much as they did last year, and they really can't fuck it up. If the beta comes out for Black Ops 7, you know, later this month or right at the beginning of October, and people are not happy with it, it'll spell the absolute doom for Call of Duty, because that is what everything is hinging on. And the only thing that I think will possibly bring people into the series is more than likely zombies, and that's the only thing people are interested in. I think the campaign looks like trash. I think the multiplayer isn't going to play as well as people are thinking it is, and I think zombies is probably going to be the only semi-decent thing in the game, and that's unfortunate because the game has so much potential, right? All I really want is for Call of Duty to go back to its golden days. I really want them to look back at what made the game great, and I think they should really, you know, take in the feedback from the community as much as possible, because that's what Battlefield is doing, and that's what's making people, you know, actually more and more excited for the game. That's why the pre-orders are still up at the top of the list for Steam, and it's probably around the top of the list for all sorts of other consoles, including PlayStation and Xbox. So it just makes you wonder, right? Is listening to all this feedback actually the real thing that's making people excited for Battlefield 6 because they're, you know, showing all the feedback, or is the minimal feedback that Black Ops 7 is getting, you know, quelling the anger and despite for the game? I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Go ahead and leave a like, and then go ahead and leave a comment down below. What do you guys think that is going to be the problem for Black Ops 7 this year specifically? Is it going to be the matchmaking? Do you think the campaign's going to bring it down? Do you think it's going to be just the overall general discourse and, you know, inevitable downfall once the game integrates back into Warzone? Or do you think the budget's going to be overblown and all these different studios are not going to be able to work together? It's just one thing after another. There's always something that has to do with this series that makes people upset, and I'm genuinely interested in what you guys have to say. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Have a good one. Bye.